Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Bellefonte Borough Council Work Session. No council actions, making motions or approvals is taken during the work sessions. First, we will talk about lighting at Missoula Park.
Yes, so I know you guys have some questions about the...
Is this when I do this?
Yeah, I think so. I don't know where they went to. Alyssa. I don't know where the picture is. No, buddy.
They're right there now.
Yeah, so where's the rest of
Before they come back in?
Great, thank you very much. Alyssa, we're having trouble finding the pictures on this.
Can we wait till you're ready?
We're gonna have to have a practice session. The one's on, yeah, I don't see the
Where
other.
the red PowerPoint is at the bottom.
It might be easier to see. That picture's pretty tough to depict.
I didn't see them.
Just click on the,
Yeah, maybe just a couple on that wall here. That helps.
there you go. You have them up.
That's good.
Click that on the red PowerPoint. The furthest one on the right.
Ah, there we go.
And then you can just use your arrows to come to it.
Okay.
Great, thank you.
All good?
We're good, thank
Okay.
you.
So obviously, you know, Missoula Park, I know last year this came up about wanting some sort of lighting out there at the park for people at night for walking their dogs. There was no real easy solution for us. The light that's there now was what West Penn offered to us kind of as a favor. Typically, they only offer like the Cobra lights, like the normal street lights that you see around town. They typically only offer that. They were trying to work with us to come up with a solution that was feasible and economic, and this is what they proposed. I mean, there's really not too many options with this light. It's a 400-watt floodlight. We did, since this picture was taken, have the light turned towards the center of the park just on Friday. So I don't know if that's changed anything for the people that are concerned about it. But there's really not too many options with that light. There's no really way to shield it. There's no real bulb options with that. This is really just kind of, you know, either you like it or you don't. So if it doesn't work, yeah, the next solution would be to put, you know, a light out in the middle of the park on one of their poles, which they gave us a price to do that, which was like $5,500 because they'd have to set a transformer in order to put a light out there in the middle of the park. So there's quite a bit of cost involved with getting a light out there. Right now, they're basically only charging us the monthly fee, what they do for a street light. So this is why we tried what we did. There's really not too many options, feasible options to put a light in the middle of the park. So anybody have any questions or?
Have you received a lot of complaints about the light?
As far as I know, I think there was only a couple, I believe. I don't know. I've not received any. I know initially when we...
I think one, and then it was the same person the second time.
Right. Initially when we did this kind of a pilot back in the spring of '24, we had it up for about a month. We heard from 2 people then, I believe. And then we took it down to kind of see what action they wanted to take, and it seemed like the council wanted it back up. So obviously, it was a longer process than expected to get it back up, but we did get it back up in December. Yes?
Yes, I went down and took a look at the light after dark to see what it looks like. And then I also went back down during daylight just to see what the layout of the park is. There are, in addition to the pole that has the light that's out over the parking lot, and then on the back of that pole is, I think it looks like a radiant space heater. that points into the park with the orange light, there are 3 additional utility poles there that look like they have transmission lines going
Correct.
through the park, and so they're around the perimeter of the park. Is there
Yes.
any way that there could be solar-powered light fixtures attached to those poles around the perimeter of the park?
I'm not aware of West Penn offering that as an option. I can surely inquire to
Okay.
them.
Because you're trying to light a very large area with one light fixture,
Correct.
which means it's
Right.
not really working.
Yes, I understand completely. Like I said, in order for them to, put their normal street light out there, that was the cost, that $5,600. But I don't know if West Penn offers any kind of solar options to put on their poles, but
Would there be an option to install,
our own on there, we had to set our own pole. They wouldn't allow us to put.
no, I mean,
Yeah.
since there are other West Penn Power poles there with power to them, is there a light fixture that we, through West Penn Power, could attach to those poles or that are around the perimeter of the park and would light up the whole area more efficiently?
You could, but that, like I said, that would, if you wanted to do multiple poles, that would have to get a cost for that. You would have to set a transformer. That was part of the issue. There's no power supply close enough. The power that's on those lines now is too high voltage. It's a transmission line.
Right.
There's no
Okay.
way for them to, neck that down. It has to come from another source up on Reynolds Avenue. So that's part of the cost of getting it there, is running a new primary line across several poles to get it to the middle of the park.
Could they run the lines from the existing utility pole that has the Cobra light on it? I mean, that's the
They
end.
cannot, no, there's too long of a span for them. That's where the transformer would have to be, is right there.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right,
Yeah,
thank you.
I met with the engineer on site. We went over all the possible reasonable options, and then he did give me a price, like I said, it was around $5,600 just to get it over to the middle of their house. You would be able to see it. It would definitely be tough when you go from used to darkness to, obviously this picture right there really depicts it well. You look out the window. Yeah. Yeah, like I said, they did turn it, like I said, towards the center of the park. I don't know if that changed anything since Friday or that.
Either, I'm going to say that.
Yeah, I'm sorry. No, you're good, absolutely. You can speak from experience.
Yeah, it's turning. I did notice the guy doing that the other day, and it took the spill from the edge of the beam off of my backyard, which I do appreciate. I'm a little. I guess I don't. It's still not an appropriate type of light, like you said. It's a brute force sort of method.
Yes.
One, and like Ms. Clayton said, that one light is not. It's not going to do it. And I guess it's just disappointing to me because this, I don't think, would ever be an option in Talleyrand. If someone needed to light up the annex there, let's just put one big light because it's free. I don't think we do that as a borough, as a group. And so it's kind of disappointing to see all of the discussion being around what can we do cheapest and quickest with existing lights. To me, if you're going to light that, I put another slide in there, the last one, I think, was just a reference. That's Talleyrand. Just turn my camera the other direction. That's an appropriate plan. Those are underground wires. Those are lights with caps on the top that shoot a cone down in pools of light. That's a planned out park light. And I think lighting is, if it's going to be open 24 hours from Missoula, I think that's an appropriate way to go. It costs a lot more money. And I get that. But I also don't think that brute forcing it with one giant light that's on all night is the other answer to that. So, those are my thoughts. To me, I don't even agree that the park should even be open 24 hours because it's not the same as the Talleyrand and the downtown parks. You're never going to just pass through this park on the way to something else.
Right.
You have to dedicated plan to go there at 4 a.m. or after dark, whatever time, to use it. And if you're trying to keep bad things from happening in the park, which is what was mentioned in the last meeting, you're actually encouraging people to go to the park at odd hours and do suspicious activity. So I don't even think it should be open 24 hours, but I mean, the signs still up that says it's not. The borough ordinances on the website haven't been updated, so I mean, your simplest chance and cheapest option would be to just do nothing. Leave the sign up and not have to worry about lighting it after dark. That would be my first choice for cheap. But if you're going to, maintain that it's going to be open, let's try to unify it, make it look like it's part of Bellefonte's parks. It's brighter than all the other park lights. It's a different color. It's a different type of light, like you mentioned. It's doing what it does. It's just not made to do that. So.
I'm not familiar with late-night traffic in this park. What have you seen? Do you see foot traffic in the park at odd hours?
No, I haven't seen crime, or I haven't had any issues. Cars turn around there and people come and go, but the only people that come down at night, there's one gentleman that walks his dog just because it's not the greatest with other dogs, so he likes to go after dark. He does a loop, and then there's a family up the street that occasionally bring a dog down, but that's about it. And like I said, I think the people that actually know that it's open 24 hours is probably limited to this room or people connected, because nowhere is it published, and the sign, if you pull in, says this is closed, you will be fined if you're in this park after sunset. So people don't come typically, unless you live on Reynolds, and they just walk down because it's convenient for them.
This is your process of putting this light in the first place if the park closed. Anybody remember?
I don't know about putting the light in. I do know that the ordinance was changed about 3 or 4 years ago. And then our chief of police said that he felt that the light was needed because they were having some issues with people in the back of the park at night using it for nefarious issues, whatever that means. I don't know.
Yeah, I haven't witnessed any of that myself.
So I like Deb's idea.
Light costing us every month?
I don't know what they cost a month. I want to say around $40 or something like that.
I like Deb's idea of looking for solar, because that's not going to cost us, it may be a higher initial cost, but once it's in, there's really not much cost at all, because the sun powers it, it goes on. If there's not enough power, it goes off at night.
Is there any other residences, sir, close to where you live? Are you the only resident affected by this light pole?
My house was the only one that was sort of getting hit by the edge of it. Since they panned it, now it's not directly getting hit.
How would you feel about the light being eliminated altogether?
Oh, I love that. When I moved in there 7 years ago, I had night, it was dark.
You wouldn't feel like there'd be too much nefarious activity going on? No.
Well, like I said, I've never seen anything. I've never had an issue since 2018. February 18, I moved in.
Just not even 5 years? Top?
What is that, 7? 7 years?
Okay.
Going on my 8th, yeah. I've not had an issue. The only issue I've had is somebody right after I moved in did like a loop in their car in the park, left some ruts. And then the sewer authority, they drove all the way out to check all the manholes covers and got stuck, left 2 large ruts. One of the mowers even got stuck and had to get the other mower to pull it out. So that's the only damage and nefarious activity I've seen in the park since I've been there.
There's a sign that says it closes at dusk.
Yeah, it's the one that's kind of tilted there. It's been sort of shifting, I think, in the frost heave.
Makes sense to maybe just get rid of the light, but that's me. I'm only one vote, so. Sign says it's closed at dusk, there's been no nefarious activity.
Well, that was my opinion.
Doesn't make much sense to continue to hold a whole work session.
Matt, how is Governor's Park lit? I know Governor's Park is closed at dusk as well.
There's a few street lights in there, but not very much. There is some additional lighting around the tennis court, basketball court, but that's usually only turned on whenever there's an event that's scheduled. Other than that, there's not. There's some street lights up top near the pole. There's really not much in there.
Right, and I know we don't promote it, but I'm sure that there has been people from time to time who find their way to Governor's Park after dark for whatever reasons, and we haven't gone to this measure for Governor's Park. I know, just speaking for myself, I would not care to get a glass of water in the middle of the night and look out. and see the Field of Dreams out there like that.
You could definitely play baseball out there. The shadows are hard and long.
Randy, do you have a comment? Sorry. Be the same.
I don't think so, Randy, not that I'm aware of.
I asked about a timer.
Randy, I don't think that's really an option. I've never seen West Penn offer that, because that would be another separate panel, you know? They just pretty much wire this in with a photo cell, so it's just the one when it's dark. I've never seen them offer, there'd have to be a separate panel involved with that.
Matt,
Yes.
first of all, I think the problem would continue even with the timer because it goes on at dark and goes off at dawn, so that's just a continuation. My question is, if we were to go with solar, which I think is a very good idea, are we permitted to put those on West Penn Power poles, or would that be prohibited?
Yeah, they would not allow us to put it. We'd have to set our own poles. That would be part of the additional cost, but we would have to see what poles would cost us and have someone to auger them and set them. But yeah, that, they would not allow us to put our lighting on their poles.
Yeah, that's what I suspected. And as far as the park closures, it's my understanding, and I don't know if this applies to all of the parks or if it's just Talleyrand, that they've done away with the closing at dawn or dusk, I'm sorry, and opening at dawn.
The ordinance was changed that all of the downtown parks were 24/7. Governor's Park is still closed at sunset.
What about,
And that, I know the sign was never changed.
I don't think any
That
of them
was
have been.
done 5, maybe 6 years ago.
I think this all stemmed from during COVID. I think when most of this 24-hour stuff became relevant was during this time frame. Like Joanne said, about 2020 is when it started.
and you said too that you cannot put a shield on this light.
There is no shield available, no.
Has anybody discussed this light with Chief Whitmer to see what his thoughts on the nefarious activity in the park would be if we were to remove this light? That could be an option as well, to see if it's something that he is adamant that we would need, or if he hasn't really seen a lot of issues over his years.
Yeah, that sounds reasonable to me. I think, yeah, as far as I'm concerned, I think get his input might help us make a decision.
I would just like to say that I do think we need to change the light. It's such a nice park, and I know that a lot of your neighbors also use that park, I do believe, and I wish there was better lighting. I don't have an option for it, but I would definitely support looking into that in some way.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, and I appreciate that. There is the one light that does cast, it probably casts halfway into the park, it just doesn't get that far corner.
Right.
But like I said, I've never noticed anything myself, but I'm not an officer, I'm not the one called if something does happen.
Matt, without the light that's in question, in your opinion, would you say there's just as much light at the Zulu Park as there is at Governor's?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, there's only one light there, so if there was another one or two in there, I think it would help, but it is a pretty dark area around there. I mean, I don't know. I know a lot of, usually when there's an issue, it's in the corner over by J.J. Powell, is where all the kids kind of converge in the summers. You know, they have their, like, swimming hole over there. But I don't know that they're really there much after dark. I mean, they're usually in there pretty heavy during the day, but...
The most activity I get is kids in their cars coming down and turning around aggressively in the cul-de-sac.
Right.
Right, now they can see, so if they want to go in the park and do some things, they can do whatever they want. But, yeah.
Matt, do you have an opinion on the light? Do you think it would be okay to try moving it and see how it goes, or?
Yeah, I mean, I would agree. I mean, if I was living where this gentleman lives, I would probably feel the exact same way. Like I said, we were just trying to come up with a reasonable solution, and you know, in the interim, I can surely start looking at the cost involved with, you know, putting in a couple poles and some, you know, obviously solar, you know, LED lights.
I'm sure the decision was made with financial responsibility in mind.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sure.
Right, right.
So unfortunately, we have to consider all that, but when we hear this and see this, it really makes no sense to me at all as to why we would have such a bright light in the park that's closed at dusk,
Yes.
especially when we have a resident. That's a picture from your front porch, right?
Yeah, it's from my deck right there, yeah. Yeah, it's from the kitchen.
Remove it, couldn't you just turn it off and see how it goes?
Oh, yeah.
I think that's what they did before.
Yeah, I mean, I can have them disconnected for a little while to see what you say before they take it down. I mean, I'm sure I can. I don't know what would be involved with that, but I can definitely reach out to them if that's the action you want me to take. That's no problem.
Yeah, when we heard it extra cost then.
Okay, yeah,
And
yes.
And meanwhile, could you check into the cost of
Yeah.
doing the poles and the solar? I think, because if we could have something that looks kind of like Talleyrand, that looks nice, that allows people who do want to go in there at night to walk their dogs or have a romantic evening, they can, but also make sure that your home isn't a runway.
Matt, can we ask you to come back to council or let us know when you have some ideas? Would that be appropriate?
Yeah, however you want to do it, yeah, that's fine with me. I mean,
Anybody?
I'll do some research and try to work on some costs, yeah. It's no
Okay,
problem.
great.
For what it's worth, I'm totally fine if it needs to be lit, and I do agree with your idea of thinking, if you can find something that looks like Talleyrand poles, you can get 400 watts spread out in little pools. I think that would be fine. I think it would
Nice.
look like the rest of the parks and not be an eyesore and offensive level of light. So, yeah, I appreciate, not against lighting it if it needs to be lit for safety and use, but yeah, let's just do it in the right, a more aesthetically pleasing way.
Great. Thank you so much for coming tonight. I appreciate it.
Thank you for listening to me gripe and moan, so I appreciate that.
Thank you.
Thanks, gentlemen.
It'd be just as easy to shut the park down at a certain time, whether if we're, light till 8 o'clock, and then around 8:15 it shuts off. And then same thing now, it could just shut off at 5 o'clock, and it's closed. But the sign's already there.
Yeah, that's really up to you. I mean, if you're going to, close the light, the park at dusk to dawn, I mean, obviously there's no sense in having an extra light.
Well, the ordinance didn't change at all because it's still got a sign out there. So that's already there.
It did change, the sign didn't change as it was, should have been done.
Well, the ordinance, when I last looked, was still not even changed on the borough website when I pulled it too, so nobody even knows. You could just leave it as is, take the light out, nobody knows that.
Yeah, COVID was like 4 years ago, so that doesn't make any sense.
Right, so
Maybe, Matt, I'm just, since this is continuing, is there a road that you say that cars are coming back? Is that what you said? You've seen cars coming back and turning around?
It's a cul-de-sac, so people turn around right by the house.
So a simple gate wouldn't
Nah,
be something that,
because it's sort of like an arc.
okay.
Yeah.
Because there's a little basketball court on one side.
and there's parking there too.
Yeah, there's the parking, there's the handicap
Right.
accessible.
Like, there's a gate when you go back to the soccer fields.
Right,
I
right.
used to have to open to, let the kids go back for coaching and stuff. I just was thinking about that, but if that's not something that would help,
Yeah,
then,
it probably wouldn't really suit
Okay,
that
all right.
application, yeah. Okay.
Okay, great. Anybody else have any questions or comments for Matt? Thank you very much,
welcome.
Matt. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir, for coming in.
Thank you.
Okay, next on our work session, we wanted to have a follow-up discussion on the community organizations that spoke last week. Does anybody have questions, comments, any insight into anything we heard? Is that what happened? Well, we did hear from the chamber. I do know they are reorganizing. Are you still going to meetings there, Julie?
Yes, I have, there hasn't been another one, there is next week, so yes, and they have had the Blues Breaker, that was, I think, was before our last meeting, that was all, so they haven't made any other decisions.
Great, thank you. We also had BHCA with Joe Griffith, I believe is his name. They seem like...
Joseph Griffin.
Joseph. They're doing an amazing number of very interesting events, or trying to,
Yeah.
and I think it's really
And they-
good. Are you very familiar with that,
Yeah,
Joanne?
I serve on their board of directors. They had another meeting Friday evening, and he went into a little more detail, particularly on the Civil War session in June. They did have funds to, I think he talked about that, to help advertise these events through the Happy Valley.
Yes, yes.
He says some of the events that he presented may or may not happen. He says the one they're having problems with is the barbershop quartet, because he can't quite get someone to agree, because the barbershop quartet national organization, he wants to make it a contest. They won't credit it as something that the barbershop quartets can come in and get points towards the national award. So that's...
There's politics everywhere.
Yeah, so, but other than that, they seem to be going pretty well.
And they have a website, is that correct? I have
Yes,
not-
they have a website. They are currently trying to update it, because right now it's rather static. They're trying to make it more interactive. They are working with Bling, and I'm not a website person, so I don't know if I can answer much more than that.
No, I just wondered if there was some place where
Yes.
people could go
Yeah.
to and
Yeah.
look at those things. Anybody else have any comments on BHCA? The other one that was here was HBI, and is HBI doing the Arts Festival, or is that under BHCA? It's the alphabet soup.
That's HBI.
HBI, okay. And they said that was going to be held again this year.
And also the cruise is also stuff.
Yes, yes, thank you. Yep. The cruise is highly successful. They're having some national recognition, correct? Great. Anybody else on that topic? Last on our work session, in the past, we've done the trivia questions, which Mr. Bernier suggested when we first started that. It's kind of run its course, I think, but I'm wondering if you wanted to, because we'd all be good at some of this now. So I'm wondering if there's something else that you may have in mind that you would like to do. I know, Rita, we had talked about some things early on. Don't mean to put you on the spot, but if there's anybody that has some ideas for a quick icebreaker at the beginning of work sessions or at the beginning of the meeting. It's nothing we have to do, but if you have an idea.
I know we had talked at one point, right, and maybe I just talked to Ralph about this, about doing some, like promoting local businesses and maybe having them donate refreshments or something, and then we can promote the business. I believe that was kind of how the idea went, and I don't know where that stands as far as whether we are able to do that or allowed to do that. But that was an idea that I had thought about, to kind of bring local business in and
I think
promote
it's a
them.
good idea, and we'd have snacks.
Yeah,
I like that idea, Rita.
Yeah.
Snacks,
exactly.
like Bonfatos.
It's a win-win.
Hofbrau. That's a really
Rita,
good
would you
idea.
mind following up with Ralph on that, and if somebody else wants to work with you? And see that, does anybody else have any ideas for that or any thoughts at all? I think it's nice to support businesses if that's something we can do. That's, I don't know.
I have a question.
Yes.
Are you saying that we have a business come in, provide snacks, whether it's a restaurant or an antique shop, they come in and bring snacks, and then they tell us about themselves, or are you just saying they bring snacks?
I don't know.
That idea didn't really go very far. It was just, I was finding out from Ralph whether we could actually do that by promoting businesses and stuff, so I don't know.
I like the idea of having a business come in and say, here's what I do. And then another, next time, here, I'm an antique shop, and these are the kinds of things. The next time we come in and we have the game shop come in and said, this is the kinds of things we do here. Whether we have the snacks or not, I don't know, but that way we will be promoting the businesses at the time, but just bringing in snacks, to me, falls flat.
And I think that's a good possibility. I don't know that we can do that in council. I don't know if there's something with that, but I think your idea is good, and to do something like that, maybe you could both kind of follow up on that a little bit and see if we could feature a local business for 5 minutes or 3 minutes, maybe. Anybody else? Okay, it looks like we are all finished for our work session, and we'll be back at 7:30. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Bellefonte Borough Council Business Meeting. Would you please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Debbie, could you do the roll call, please?
Mr. Bernier.
Here.
Mr. Brackbill.
Here.
Ms. Clayton. Here. Ms. Dan.
Here.
Mr. Johnson. He's here. Ms. McKean.
Here.
Ms. Purnell.
Here.
Ms. Sedgwick.
Here.
Ms. Tosti Vasey.
I'm here.
Mr. Larson.
Here.
Ms. Meckley. Was she going to join us this evening? Okay. And Mayor Johnson.
Here.
Okay, thank you.
In accordance with Act 65 of 2021, if a matter is not on the agenda, council cannot take official action on it with some exceptions. The council can act on matters relating to potential or real emergencies. Council may add a matter of agency business to its agenda through a majority vote. The council should state the reason why the action item is being added to the agenda. Does anybody have anything they would like to add? Okay, moving on to public comment. We will be having public comment after each motion and second for anything that we would like to discuss. Borough Council intends to take public comment related to the motion that is on the floor after it has been duly made and seconded. The order of comment will be public comment and then council comment, including proposed amendments by council members. If the amendments are proposed to the original motion, the public will then only comment on the amendments before final votes are taken. You must be a Bellefonte resident, nonprofit representative, business owner, or an official representative of another governmental agency. Speakers shall identify themselves by name and street, municipality, if outside of the Borough of Bellefonte. Comments are limited to 3 minutes. Under communications, our first communication is Center County Recycling and Refuse Authority Municipal Newsletter for January. Does anyone have any comments on that? We also had a resident recommendation for the Bellefonte Elementary School property. This is the property that is on Allegheny Street. She had an idea of renovation and using the auditorium.
And just FYI, the reason she's making that recommendation is the acoustics in the auditorium there are really, really good.
I did not know that.
Yeah, that's why she's making that recommendation.
We could put that on our goals list. We would also like to say thank you to Matt Almond. We received a letter thanking him for taking care of the, I cannot remember the name of the cemetery, the Quaker Cemetery that's up.
They don't call it cemetery.
Oh, thank you. Okay. Great. So they took care of some walls and cleaned it up. They did a nice job, and there was a thank you in there. Last communications in your packet is the PSAB conference. It is June 1st through 4th this year. It's a Sunday through Wednesday. Take a look at it and consider it. It's a good time, and we have always learned a lot from going.
So I have a comment. I was talking to Randy just before our meeting. There's an awards ceremony on Tuesday. Doug and I should be getting an award for being 10 years on council. Randy should have gotten one 2 years ago, but we never reported it to PSAB. So I think whenever we send in this awards list, we should remind him that he should have gotten it 2 years ago.
Okay. I'll follow up on that. Thank you very much. Sorry about that, Randy. Under the consent agenda, do I have a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda? Joanne?
I'd like to make a motion and then have a friendly amendment to the minutes so that we don't have to do two votes this time. On the minutes, they're on page 2. Oh, I need it. So,
Second it.
okay. Okay. So what I want to do is on page 2 on the consent agenda section, it says the first and third were passed after the minutes. Actually, it was the second and third. And, wait a minute, back up. It was not the second and third, it was the first and third. And then in the next paragraph down, it says that it should say the second item, not the first item. So it's just a flipping of numbers. Because the second item was the minutes, and that's what we credited last time. And then on the page 4, when we went through this last year saying what we wanted to do with the minutes was only say, well, here's with the motion, there was some discussion, and then have the votes. The motion on how we were going to do public comment is actually missing on these minutes. So if we go back up to this public comment thing that you just read at the very beginning.
Okay.
And we should just add that, and it would say that before the last sentence, the amended motion said, on a trial basis, Borough intends to take public comment, blah, 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 that you said earlier, so I don't have to repeat.
Okay, okay. So we can just, you want to just go ahead and do that?
That as a
and
friendly amendment. So
approve.
I say, if I'm okay with that, and Randy's okay with it, so we just have one vote instead of two.
Okay, so this will be, we need another motion and a second for
No.
everything? No, we just,
No.
anybody have discussion on that? Then we need a roll call vote, please. On the whole thing.
Okay, Mr. Bernier?
Yes.
Mr. Brackbill?
Yes.
Ms. Clayton? Yes. Ms. Dan?
Yes.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Ms. McKean?
Yes.
Ms. Purnell?
Yes.
Ms. Sedgwick?
Yes.
Ms. Tosti Vasey?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, under reports, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. I'm pleased to report that the Bellefonte Superintendent, Dr. Rakowski, and myself will be leading a community advisory committee meeting on this Wednesday. Dr. Rakowski has shown a lot of pride, not only in the school district, but our community as well, as we've seen him at numerous events. So this is something that when I initially met him, he said has worked well in some of the other places. So we developed a list of certain people within the community, and I will be sure to have a report after our meeting on Wednesday. But we're looking forward to, you know, bridging the gap between the school district and the community and all working together for the good of everybody. So I'll be sure to have a report on that in the future.
Great, thank you. I'm looking forward to that. Junior council person, Mr. Larson.
All right, so my report starts off with a quick borough report. I just want to let you guys know that I'm currently researching and reviewing the presentation that was provided to you guys a few weeks ago. And then for the school, I wanted to note how school resumed on the 7th and the second quarter ended on the 22nd. And then we also had the challenge program visit the high school. It's a new program that I think they're trying out, and it seems pretty interesting. Their goal is to motivate high school students to develop the habits that are required to succeed in school and their careers. And 145 schools around us participate, and they award money for things like attendance and taking STEM courses, doing community service, and just improvement of behavior and everything overall. We also did some career preparation, and AP applications were submitted for next year, so we're beginning to plan for classes next year. For extracurriculars, FBLA attended their regional leadership conference. 3 Bellefonte FFA members received their FFA jackets. The cheer team attended their PIAA states competition. ACDEC attended districts, and student council is looking to hold its first ever pickleball event. So that'll be fun.
Great, thank you very much. Okay, next we will move on to the reports for the Planning Commission and HARB. In your packet, we will need a motion and a second to consider removing the 575 Article 21 signs from the borough zoning to its own chapter within the borough code.
So moved.
Thank you, thank you. Discussion. Okay, could we vote? Deb, please.
Mr. Bernier?
Yes.
Mr. Brackbill?
Yes.
Ms. Clayton? Yes. Ms. Dan?
Yes.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Ms. McKean?
Yes.
Ms. Purnell?
Yes.
Ms. Sedgwick?
Yes.
Ms. Tosti Vasey?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Great, thank you. Moving on to old business. We discussed the lighting issue at Missoula Park. Do we want to take any action on this, or do we want to leave it that Mr. Almond is going to come back to us with some information?
Pretty sure Matt's going to do that. He said so here at the beginning, so I think we'll trust him on that one.
Okay, great. Anybody else? Good, thank you. The Public Transit Task Force. I know Joanne and Deb, you've been very active and done that. Do you have anything you want to say about your report?
In your report is a one-pager telling what happened at our negotiation meeting in general. CATA has agreed to come back to council on February 17th. The report says the 18th, but it's actually the 17th.
That's presidency. Council's on the 18th.
Oh, okay. Then I'm wrong. So it's the 18th. And we'll have to let CATA know because we told them the 17th at the meeting.
Okay.
But anyway, they're going to give us 3 or 4 different options as to what they can possibly do. And we'll move on. Meanwhile, Benner Township is having their meeting this evening, and they have received this same summary report, and Kathy Evie, who's a township supervisor there, is presenting the same information to them. Once we know what's going on, then we can kind of plan on moving forward, and part of it, once we hear what they have, then we can discuss exactly what, so we have a better plan than we did when you asked us in December, and it does look like we probably will need to add that additional reserve funds this spring in order to do some of the plans, but that we have to see what they are offering us. And they're doing it now rather than in March, because usually they would have come to us and give us a yay or nay. By coming in February, that allows us to hear what they have, make some decisions, and let them know so that they can do plans and bring us back with the final costs.
Great, thank you. Anybody have questions for Joanne? Okay, under the committees of council, you all got your email with your committees and chairpersons. The only thing that I wanted to talk to about that is looking through our ordinances, and I gave you a copy of that. We're not exactly following the ordinance the way we're organizing the committees. One of the committees that we're going to do as an ad hoc committee, you're welcome, Kent, is called update the ordinances and the policies. So as long as nobody has any objection with that, we will just go along with the committees as you received your information on.
Curiosity question? Yeah. Do you know when you'll be appointing those 2 ad hoc committees? You did say that Randy would be the chair of the fire department committee. Do you
Yes,
know?
that's a great idea. Actually, Randy, you said that we don't really need to do a committee for that. Is that correct?
Well, no, we do. I mean, for Bellefonte, the ordinances have to be covered by Bellefonte Council.
Okay.
So that's still there. The fire department creates their own bylaws and all that stuff. And so that's why I kind of threw that at you there a little bit, that we don't, we'll meet every other month. When I meet with them, I only meet every other month, and that's when they're having their major.
Okay, so we don't need to add someone else to that, is that what you're saying? Okay. Joanne?
I am interested in the ordinance and ad hoc committee. I don't know who else is.
Right, I did, and that's what I wanted to ask. Has anybody thought about that and thought you might want to serve on that?
I told you a long time ago I would serve on that
Yes.
and chair it if you want me to.
I appreciate that. Good. Anybody else interested in that? We won't do them all in 2 weeks, but slowly work at those. But thank you. If anybody else decides they would like to do that or start on that, that's fine. Just let me know. Work sessions and presentations to council, a schedule of the work sessions, and the placement of presentations will be changing as council moves to subcommittees. Presentations will likely be scheduled in the business meeting under oral communications at the beginning of the meetings now. That also gives the committees an option to meet before the meetings sometimes, if that suits with the rest of your committee to do that.
I have a question.
Yes.
How often are we running the work sessions? Are we having meetings every 2 weeks? Or how are we doing this?
Oh, the committee meetings, you mean? We had talked about doing them, and Deb, feel free to chime in too, because we talked about that. I think we decided on once a month for the committees, and if people decided they wanted to do, if they needed more often, to meet more often.
I think before, when we had standing committees before, the committees met whenever it worked for that group, and then if somebody wanted to present something to council, the way we're doing it in a work session now, that was at the beginning of our council meetings under public comment. So we would not lose the opportunity for any public organization that wanted to do a presentation or someone within the borough to do a presentation. That would still be at the beginning of the meetings.
Any other questions? Okay, just an announcement. Council held an executive session on legal matters following the January 6th council meeting. The council is not required for any action on this. Under new business, yes.
I would like to request that I'll make a motion to table the executive committee, or executive commission meeting for tonight and have it on the 18th of this month.
Instead of doing it tonight?
Instead of doing it tonight.
Okay.
I'll second that.
Any discussion? Did we do a vote on that? Debbie, please.
I'm trying to remember, it's been a while. You can either, I don't think we do a vote.
We don't do a vote?
That's not an action item, so.
Okay.
We just have an agreement that we move it.
Or you just want to move it to the 18th? Okay. Okay, under new business, the Civil Service Commission Rules and Regulations revisions. The Civil Service Commission has approved the revisions. I need a motion and a second to approve the Civil Service Commission Rules and Regulations.
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Shauna.
A second.
Thank you, Johanna. Any discussion? Debbie, roll call, please.
Mr. Bernier?
Yes.
Mr. Brackbill?
Yes.
Ms. Clayton? Yes. Ms. Dan?
Yes.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Ms. McKean?
Yes.
Ms. Purnell?
Yes.
Ms. Sedgwick?
Yes.
Ms. Tosti-Vasey?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, we need an approval of ordinance number 0203-2025, amendments to Chapter 530, Vehicle and Traffic. Do I have a motion and a second to approve this ordinance?
Second. For a motion?
I'll second.
Great discussion.
So just for the public's, and the basic thing is changing is that there's nothing in the current ordinance that says green lines are for electric vehicles. That's being added. It's a very simple change.
Okay, do you,
Correct, it just needs to be added.
okay. Do you have anything else on that, Chief?
I do not.
Okay, okay, thank you very much. Could we have roll call, please?
Okay,
Pardon me? No, we're past that. It's the vehicle and traffic, the second one of the three, or the second of the four. I think so.
Okay, Mr. Bernier.
Yes.
Mr. Brackbill.
Yes.
Ms. Clayton, yes. Ms. Dan.
Yes.
Mr. Johnson.
Yes.
Ms. McKean.
Yes.
Ms. Purnell.
Yes.
Ms. Sedgwick.
Yes.
Ms. Tosti Vasey.
Yes.
Thank you.
Next one, approval of resolution 0203-2025-1, our use of force policy. Can I have a motion and a second, please? Thank you.
I'll second it.
Thank you. I'll open it up for discussion. Chief, did you want to add anything to that?
Just as long as everyone had the opportunity to review it before they sign off on it, that's all. There's nothing more that I need to add, just make sure you review it.
Great, thank you.
And I would like to amend the motion to change the number from 0203-2025-02, because right now it has the exact same number as the previous.
One is a resolution and the other one is an ordinance. They're two different documents.
Oh, okay. Never mind.
Thank you, Debbie.
McKean and Sedgwick.
We're good.
Mr. Bernier.
Yes.
Mr. Brackbill.
Yes.
Ms. Clayton, yes. Ms. Dan.
Yes.
Mr. Johnson.
Yes.
Ms. McKean.
Yes.
Ms. Purnell.
Yes.
Ms. Sedgwick.
Yes.
Ms. Tosti Vasey.
Yes.
Thank you.
The Shade Tree Commission volunteer application. I need a motion and a second to appoint Jason Ostrowski to the Shade Tree Commission.
I would like to actually make a motion to table this temporarily. I truly applaud Mr. Ostrowski's volunteering to serve on the trade, but I think we need our solicitor to look at it to make sure that there's no conflict of interest.
I'll second that.
Any discussion on that?
He is an employee of... Jason is an employee of Bellefonte Borough, and I know he wants to do this. I don't know how long this has been hanging out there for somebody to take a look at, but maybe just give a little bit more time, and whether it's another, up to the next meeting at the 18th, and
I think so. I think the intention was to get a legal opinion on this so that everything's okay. It's great that he volunteered for this. It seems like it's okay. There's just something with being an employee and also being a volunteer. So I would hope I'll follow up on that to make sure we have it for next time. Thank you. Okay, we also have public I'm sorry. We do have to vote again.
Mr. Bernier,
What are we voting on?
we're tabling this till the next meeting to get a legal
The guy
opinion
that
on
volunteered.
conflict
We're
of
going to table
interest.
it. Okay, yep, yes.
Mr. Brackbill.
yes.
Ms. Clayton, yes. Ms. Dan.
Yes.
Mr. Johnson.
Yes.
Ms. McKean.
Yes.
Ms. Purnell.
Yes.
Ms. Sedgwick.
Yes.
Ms. Tosti Vasey.
Yes.
Thank you.
Now we'll move on to public comment regarding issues not on the agenda. I see that we have no one here tonight for that. Next is council members' comments for the good of the order. Rita, do you want to start and we'll go around this way? Please.
I really don't have anything prepared, but I guess I'll say Happy Valentine's Day to everybody in Bellefonte.
Great, thank you. Joanne?
Good evening, everyone. No, I have nothing.
I have nothing as well.
I'm just happy to be here.
Somebody always is. Mr. Mayor?
Pass. I'm good.
Oh, good. Actually, I don't have anything tonight either.
I just want to say I love seeing the residents down on the skating rink when I go by. I've actually seen that a couple times, so after the past couple years where it's not ever froze, it's nice to see that it did freeze and they've been able to get out on it and try it out.
Yeah, I agree to that one, too. It is nice to see people finally out there, but
Yes.
back in the day we put them in, they just weren't freezing or before.
Can't control that.
I've wanted to get my skates out, but it's hard. I don't like being cold. Once I'm in my house, I'm not going back out.
Are you ready, Shauna? Okay.
Nothing.
Mr. Vernier. Mr. Larson?
I don't have anything.
Great, okay. Thank you all very much. I'll need a motion and a second to adjourn. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Meeting is adjourned.